Unit 5, about theology. How we study the Bible matters. Okay, so this is not going to be a course on theology, but we need to know a little bit about theology because we can't study the Bible without some kind of theology. It's just not possible. And so there's actually a number of kinds of theology, but I want to just look at two for the purposes of this course and just kind of understanding the way that we go about going into this content. I just want to have a little bit of a framework. So there's two kinds of theology that I want to talk about. There's systematic theology and there are biblical theology. And this is kind of my simple definition. There's probably a better definition out there. But with systematic theology, what you have is you have the main topics of the Bible that when they come to God's salvation project, and then you have them organized all together. So for example, everything that is said about a certain topic organized together, and then you kind of look at it and you draw conclusions about what the Bible teaches based on all of the verses about that subject organized together. Now, for this course, we're talking mostly about the story of us and about God. And so there's really five main areas that play into the God's salvation project, as it were, right? There's lots of areas of theology, but when it comes to God, the main story of the Bible, God's salvation project that he offers through Christ, there's kind of five main topics that we're going to look at here, and those are the nature of God, the nature of man, the coming of Christ, the work of the cross, and the final resurrection. So again, there's more topics to be studied, but these are the essentials, especially when it comes to salvation history. So if you wanted to know everything about the nature of God, you would do a systematic study on the nature of God. So you'd grab all the verses from all over the Bible that tell us something about God's nature. You put them all together and you study them and you draw conclusions. Same thing with the nature of man. What does the Bible teach about Christ? What does the Bible teach about the cross? This is systematic theology, whereas biblical theology is more about the unfolding plan of God through the biblical record. So the difference here with systematic theology, with biblical theology over systematic theology, is that biblical theology kind of explains how those central topics of the Bible, i.e. the ones we just talked about in systematic theology, how those particular topics, such as the nature of God, the nature of man, play out in human history. So this is more about the unfolding story of redemption, not just the topics themselves. So we want to look at, biblical theology looks at how these topics find their way into the story and into history, right? And ultimately, biblical theology is going to be about how the events and promises and covenants of the Old Testament come to a fulfillment in the person of Jesus Christ. See, he is going to be, as we'll see, the center of all study, of all theology. He's the center of the Bible. He's the center of existence. And so the covenants and promises also are going to point to Christ. And so knowing that, this is going to be a course on biblical theology. This course is designed to kind of be a timeline where we're going to look at these subjects, but we're going to look at how they play out in the story and in the history. And so this Bible overview is not going to be a systematic theology Bible overview, though we could do that. It is going to be a biblical theology Bible overview, where we're going to try and take a little more of a chronological approach to studying the Bible. So that's going to be important to know going forward. And next unit, in Unit 6, we're going to talk about Revelation. And not the book of Revelation, but we're going to talk about how God communicates to us.